It's once again that time when we commemorate those who lost their lives in the tragic Gallipoli campaign of 1915.
We thought that our landing was to be effectively quite unopposed, but almost immediately heavy rifle and machine gun fire was opened up on us.
This year, the innovative new website, Gallipoli The First Day, enables you to follow an hour-by-hour account of the first 24 hours of the battle. Gallipoli The First Day, abc.net.au/Gallipoli.
Ever wondered the story behind your street name?
Oh, I don't really know.
The streets of your town.
Yes, we're combining our ANZAC build-up to the streets of your town today in a very, very interesting way. It's really good when stuff like this happens. There's some streets in Cowaramup, a new development there, have been officially set aside to be named after a particular soldier. We're going to tell his story. He's a Cowaramup early settler, and his grandson is with me now. Lt Earl, welcome to the morning programme.
Good morning, Glenn.
Thanks for driving up this morning. How are you going?
Oh, very well.
This is so interesting. You must be absolutely blown away that your grandfather, Roy Earl, is going to have a street named after him.
Yeah, we're very pleased to be able to get that into our subdivision. It took a little bit of effort because there was another Earl place around, but it does have some great historical interest for the town, and as he lived there for an awful long time.
Now, we've spoken already this week to veterans and shared their experiences of conflict past. Of course, World War I is the one that started it all, was the reason that we have an ANZAC Day, but we don't get to talk to veterans of World War I anymore, unfortunately. It's great that we're able to keep those stories alive, though, and share those. Tell me about Roy Earl.
Well, my grandfather, he was lived in Bunbury when he joined up as a 19-year-old in 1914, and only a couple of months later they shipped him off over towards Europe to the conflict. But I think on the way they diverted him to Alexandria and then onto the Gallipoli campaign. So he was a 20-year-old when he landed at Gallipoli at about 4:30 on the first morning.
Just a boy.
And I've got sons who are older than that, and you still wouldn't want to see them have to go into such a conflict like that. And he was actually shot on the first morning. He was the bullet clipped him on the head, so probably by a couple of millimetres, none of us would be around.
Wow.
And so at that stage, that was his only day at Gallipoli, because they shipped him off to Lemnos and then eventually back into Egypt and into England to recuperate. And he eventually came back to via Lemnos to Gallipoli late in the campaign, and we don't actually know a lot more about that. It's a little bit difficult to know what went on there, but he was obviously lucky enough to survive and get out of there eventually. And
it's fair to say, in a bizarre bit of fortune, that shot in the head might have saved his life, because if he'd have stayed around at Gallipoli, he may have suffered the same fate as so many others.
Oh, well, that's exactly right. And that's as for the rest of the campaign. At any stage, he could have gone the way of so many other good young Australians.
Mm. But he was back in service. He was back in action.
Yeah, he went back to action there, and then eventually, after Gallipoli finished, he was sent back into England, where he did some training, and I think he was as a trainer, and he was actually slowly going up through the ranks from a private to a corporal, and then eventually become a second lieutenant, and later in the field in France promoted to a lieutenant, and then later on a captain. But when they were back in Egypt after Gallipoli, they split the 11th Battalion, which had started up in the 51st Battalion, and then they went after the 51st Battalion. Eventually ended up in France and did a fair bit of fighting in around places called Lt Roy Earl and Villers-Bretonneux, and had a lot. A lot of their numbers were unfortunately killed. And on the 2nd of April at Noriel, he was awarded the Military Cross for conspicuous gallantry and devotion to duty.
Do you know why?
Yes, he led a party of machine gunners and bombers against the enemy, capturing 3 machine guns and several prisoners. This action undoubtedly prevented greater casualties from the rest of the battalion as they were fighting down the road towards Noriel.
Now, Noriel and all these conflicts you're talking about, are they all the Western Front?
They're all the Western Front.
Because that's a whole story in itself. And I spoke to an author last year who'd composed some diaries, and we all know about Gallipoli and we talk about it so much, but the Western Front was where the vast majority of Australian soldiers died, and they died in, it was hard fighting there.
Oh, well, it was. We actually went over for the 90th anniversary of the Battle of Villers-Bretonneux last year. And that was, very moving to see how many gravestones are out there of all these young men from all of nations.
What's it like going out there, knowing with that family connection?
Oh, well, it was, I guess, on the morning of ANZAC Day, when we were out there, it was the same time as the 51st Battalion came across the hill past where the memorial was, and they were chasing the Germans back after they had attacked Amiens, and it was a very similar morning. It was biting cold. Yeah. And we were sitting there shivering as we waited for the service, but those servicemen wouldn't have been, because people would have been shooting at them at the time. And on that morning, he won a bar to his military cross. Yeah. For again, bravery under fire, and which was marvellous to be there and to sort of see it. But yeah, I don't know how people ever went through that sort of stuff.
You must be so proud.
Oh, yeah.
I've got a row of medals in my hands here, which are all your grandfather's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8 of them, beautifully kept. Good on you for looking after them so long. Now, this one on the left, and we'll take a photo of this and put it on the website later. This is the main one here, is it?
That's the military cross, and the little piece of silver across the top is the bar, is when he won the military cross for the second time.
Oh, yeah. So it essentially means he won that twice?
Yes, he's won that twice, and that the first one, that was presented to him at Buckingham Palace by King George V.
By the big cheese himself?
It was, yes. So I guess back in those times you'd have been really happy to go and shake the hands of the king.
Yeah, sure.
And
it sounds like he earned it. I mean, the other thing that's important, I think, that's what's come out of Roy's story is that it's been documented. You've kept that memory alive. It's so easy for these stories to die when the people died. Did your grandfather that you remember talk about World War I much?
No, grandfather didn't talk about it very much at all. He certainly, there were some pictures and bits and pieces around, but I guess a lot of the people of those times, they didn't really want to talk about it, or even the blokes that came out of the Second World War, that it was probably just too horrific for them.
It's a common feature, isn't it? Do you remember your grandfather?
Oh, yes, yeah, I know. And your grandfather?
What type of man was he?
Oh, he was a pretty strict man. He was probably considered the sheriff of Cowaramup for a fair while when he was there. So he died in 71 or 72, and I'd sort of gone off to Perth those last couple of years. But yeah, no, I remember grandfather quite fondly. But yes, a strict man.
Now, Roy Earl Drive is going to be the street name after your grandfather, but there's also going to be some names and you mentioned one of the battles already, but the other battles are going to be commemorated that he fought in are going to be street names as well.
Yes, well, Noriel is one of the names which is Noriel Circle.
Yeah.
And that's where he won the military cross in 1917, and Villiers-Bretonneux. But because the name is so long, we've called it Villiers Street. Yeah. And Bretonneux Turn. Yeah. Otherwise, it may not actually get up. People will be battling to write that on their envelopes.
And these are all going to be. When are these going to be actually up in Cowaramup, these street names?
Oh, probably by July.
By July?
Yep.
I think it's a remarkable tale, and I love the fact that anybody who's listening now, when you're in Cowaramup and you see Roy Earl Drive, you can look up and think, I know he earned that street name, and he earned it more than most. 2 military crosses, 7 more medals besides them, and they're beautifully presented. We'll put a picture of them on the website. It's a remarkable story. Thank you so much for sharing it with us.
Thank you very much.
Ian Earl is the grandson of Roy Earl, for whom Roy Earl Drive in Cowaramup will shortly be named. Thanks so much for coming in. What a wonderful streets of your town today.